Now, as a Bears fan, I know all too well about dumb organizations making dumb decisions and repeating those dumb decisions year after year. So I speak from experience a little bit when it comes to this. But I also say this that unequivocally, beyond a shadow of a doubt, one of the most poorly run organizations over the past 15 years in the National Football League is clearly the Cleveland Browns. This organization has by and large been a joke since it came back as an expansion franchise to start the 1999 season. So, of course, it was no great surprise to me to see that one of the topics of discussion this week about the Cleveland Browns revolved around that certain members of the organization and certain members of the coaching staff are concerned about Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football's off the field antics, and that he's too much of a party animal, he's living too hard of a lifestyle off of the field, that he's not taking his responsibilities as the future of the organization, the young franchise quarterback, seriously enough. He's not immersing himself enough in the playbook. He's not working hard enough. Skip and whoop-de-woo. And I said, you know what? This is exactly the type of dumb shit that I would expect to come from the Cleveland Browns organization. Now, here's my thing. You drafted Johnny Manziel. You didn't draft a choir boy. You had to know damn good and well heading into this what you were getting on the field, off the field. Good and great, and bad. You couldn't sit there and pick and choose. You wouldn't think. You'd have to know if you were drafting Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel, that you could get these great and wonderful things, and then you had these other things that maybe would concern you. So I don't understand how all of a sudden people involved with the Cleveland Browns and in the Cleveland Browns organization can be all that surprised that Johnny Manziel is going off on benders to Vegas and partying like you would expect a 21-year-old kid with a lot of money to do. Here's my thing. It's not like he's running dogfighting rings as far as we know. It's not like, as far as we know, he's smoking a bunch of dope or snorting a bunch of booger sugar. He's not sitting there and getting popped off for a bunch of DUIs, best we know. He's not sitting there and beating women, best we know. He's not sitting there and knocking up 8 or 9 different women with kids, best we know. He's partying. He's having fun. He's living his life hard off the field. What is so wrong with that? I get it, that these teams put a lot of investment into the quarterback position. They have a lot riding on the success and failures of their starting quarterbacks, especially when they take a young future franchise quarterback in the first round and they want to take nothing to chance. I understand that. But if these were concerns now, then they had to be concerns then. So if that was the case then why the hell did you take the guy then? This is ridiculous. If you're the Cleveland Browns, you need to understand that pretty much everything else you've done over the past 15 years has been the wrong decision. Everything you've pretty much done over the past 15 years has led to crappy results. Everything you've done over the past 15 years has pretty much all sucked. So at some point in time, you have to gamble. You have to roll the dice. And you have to sit there and look at somebody and say, we need star power. We need sex appeal. We need sizzle. We need life in this pathetic-ass organization. And a guy like Johnny Manziel can bring it. And maybe we need to sit there and kind of plug our nose and turn the other cheek when it comes to this crap. But then I sit here and say this, okay, you think he parties too much, that he lives his life too hard off the field. I think back to somebody like Broadway Joe Willie Namath. This was a guy that loved to party. This was a guy that loved to live the nightlife. Did that mean that he couldn't still be a great player? No, he's won a Super Bowl and he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Coming into the 83 draft, one of the rumors about Dan Marino was that he's a big-time party animal. Another one was that he was a big-time cokehead. Well, all he went on to do was become one of the great quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League, and ironically enough, he finds himself in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now, of course, if the Cleveland Browns were sitting there and they had Joe Namath or they had Dan Marino today, they would be questioning their off-the-field stuff, and they would be concerned about the off-the-field stuff. Again, I understand all the investment and all the energy that you invest into the quarterback position and all the pressure that is associated with the quarterback position and your organization being measured as a success or a failure largely based off of the performance and success or failure of the quarterback position, you want to hedge your bets and you want to protect yourself as much as you possibly can. And you want these guys to live this life and fully immerse themselves in it. And hey, I'm all for hard work and dedication to your craft and being a professional. And I do think that sometimes Johnny Manziel does need to tone it down a little bit. And that maybe Johnny Manziel could sit there and take his craft, take his profession that he could be really damn good at for a really long time a little more seriously. But at the same token, do we have to be so old fuddy-duddied about this crap? Why can't this kid enjoy his life off the field? If he's not getting into a bunch of trouble, if he's not sitting there doing a bunch of drugs, if he's not sitting there knocking up a bunch of women, if he's not sitting there raping or beating up a bunch of women, if he's not sitting there running dog fighting rings or getting popped off for DUIs, why can't the kid work hard and play hard too? What's so wrong with that? If you're the Cleveland Browns, maybe it's time to focus a little less on that crap and a little bit more on just now that you've gotten him into camp, making sure you get him as prepared as you possibly can for the season if and when you're ready to go with him as your starting quarterback for now and in the future. You know, again, this is the stupidity of the Cleveland Browns. You didn't take a choir boy. You took Johnny fucking Manziel. You ding-dong dumb dicks had to know going into this that this could be a potential issue, that this could be a potential problem. And you would think when you drafted him, you understood this and you were okay with this. You can't sit there now without even having played a preseason game, let alone a regular season game, and all of a sudden be expressing some buyer's remorse because you're concerned about Johnny Manziel's hard partying lifestyle off the field. Well, shit. Does it really matter at this point? Well, instead of bitching about it, instead of worrying about it, how about you just let the kid figure it out? Instead of being so worried about it and being so concerned about it, how about you figure out a way to not fire your damn coaches every year? How to not fire your damn general managers every 2 years? How to not have an owner that sits there and runs a company and owns a company that rips off truckers for hundreds of millions of fucking dollars? These would seem to be the things that would be more important than worrying about whether or not the kid goes to freaking Vegas for the 4th of July weekend or the Memorial Day weekend or the Flag Day weekend or whatever the fuck weekend he wants to go to a damn Vegas or he wants to go have a dang party. You know, this is one of these things that you hear about and you talk about in the working world. You know, what you do here matters to me. What you do out there, if it doesn't affect what you do here, then I don't care about that, and it doesn't matter. And maybe that's the approach the Cleveland Browns should have right now. If Johnny Manziel wants to live it up, if Johnny Manziel wants to party hard, but by God, he shows up to work, and by God, he puts the work in, and by God, he's a productive player, and this crap here doesn't affect this crap here, then maybe you need to learn to just ignore or deal with this crap here, because again, this is the person you drafted. This is the guy you wanted. This is the guy, frankly, that your organization so badly needed. You can't sit there and cherry pick the different parts of him you want or didn't want now. Just, again, speaks to the stupidity of the Cleveland Browns as an organization. If your biggest concern in training camp is whether or not Johnny Manziel is partying too much, then that just speaks all too much to why the Cleveland Browns have largely sucked over the past 15 seasons, period.